people dream of traveling across this beautiful country, finding hidden gems along the way. For a trucker, that's just another day in the job. On today's episode of Long Haul's King of the Road, powered by Peterbilt, we'll talk to a few drivers who travel thousands of miles every year and see some of the most beautiful places in the country.
People like being able to spread their wings and see the country, and there's a lot of people that I think that's one of the reasons why they want to get into driving is to see America, and a lot of people don't like doing the same thing every day. They like doing something different, go to a new place every week, but which is great, but being able to see the country and get paid to do it, some people think that that's pretty cool.
What was the favorite place when you were on the road?
Well, probably the most beautiful place I've ever been in trucking is, I used to pick up pinto beans in Lewiston, Idaho, and take them to Pennsylvania, and I used to go in on Highway 12 out of Missoula, Montana, and down into Lewiston along the river, and seeing guys fly fish, and it wasn't a great road for trucking because it was windy and hilly, but man, it was so beautiful there. It was just unbelievable. I've seen a lot of great things, there's, you go through Arizona and see some beautiful country, and Washington, Oregon, the Northwest. I like the mountains, and it's beautiful. It can be really scary in the wintertime, and if you get into bad roads, but sometimes you get up there in the summer, it's just unbelievable.
Al Smith was our driver of the year last year, and typically we give our company driver of the year a trip. One person went to Belize. It's part of a club, choose a location, part of this club. And I tried to give Al Smith a trip, and he said, Tiffany, every day is a vacation because I'm driving all over the country all the time. So he didn't really have anywhere specific that he wanted to go because he sees everything. The only difference maybe if he would have thrown his motorcycle in the back, then it would have been a vacation. But over the years, we've had husbands and wives that have driven together, and they just see the world. And along the way, they maybe stop and see their grandkids, or see different destinations. We did have a load one time going to Alaska that I think a couple of guys fought over because that was their dream.
I never made a trip to Alaska, but I've been there fishing, and that would have been probably on my bucket list if I would have stayed in the seat, that's for sure.
Like, if you're looking for a career that allows you to see the country, that allows you to kind of just be free, you're just going from city to city, town to town, coast to coast. You don't have to really set roots anywhere. You can just live in your truck. We have some of our drivers that have like motorcycles in their trucks with them. And when they get somewhere, they unload the bike and they might, deliver their load, and then they hang out in town for the weekend and they use their bike to get along, and they have friends all over the country. So they kind of grow these really big networks of people all around the country. A lot of them will go into Canada for us. One of the biggest sells I would put out there to like a Gen Z person who's like, why would I ever want to be in truck driving, right? What is this possibly going to do for me? It's like, well, honestly, you get to travel the entire country and get paid to do it. trucks are more comfortable now than they've ever been. As you start to see some of the equipment that we offer, especially for our company drivers, I mean, they're so big and they're so comfortable, and you can really turn it into quite the apartment on wheels, honestly. You have the ability to work hard and then relax and kick back in your truck and actually be comfortable and feel like you're in a place that you want to spend time. I think it goes a long way in just kind of hiring and then retaining really great and professional drivers and people.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with Long Haul's King of the Road, powered by Peterbilt. King of the Road is brought to you by Peterbilt. Extreme Trailers, innovation moving forward, and Long Haul Trucking, running on the power of promises kept. I get to spend a lot of time on the road, and when you're on major interstates and highways, it's going to take you through or around a big city. So I see that skyline, and when there's extra time, I like to go downtown. Try the local eats, check out the culture, and just talk to people. Hang out, see what's up, check out national landmarks like this guy. It kind of makes you feel closer to home, even when you can't be. I love it. Truckers are working hard out on the road, but they still get to enjoy the scenery as they travel all over North America.
We used to haul a lot of potatoes from Florida to Canada, and I never personally went to Nova Scotia, but some of our guys have hauled potatoes in the Nova Scotia throughout the years, and they used to take a ferry across, and they said that was like one of the coolest experiences they ever had.
It'd be about April, the potatoes would start coming out of Florida. And we would haul potatoes up to Connecticut and New York, and eventually Canada. Usually about the 1st of May, they'd bring potatoes into Canada. And back in those days, that paid really, really good. And we would haul them in open tops. And we'd fill the trailer up, and that was good money. I mean, everybody kind of waited for the potato haul to start. Those potato hauls for about 2-3 months, they were bread and butter. And when the potato haul would start, we'd haul potatoes for 6 weeks out of Florida, and then we'd start hauling potatoes out of Elizabeth City, North Carolina. I always liked the Midwest, but I tell you, I really like the Carolinas. I was leased to a company for about 1.5 years before I came to Long Haul that we hauled tubing out of Minneapolis down to North and South Carolina and Tennessee. And I really love Kentucky, Tennessee, and the Carolinas. I had a trip one time to California, and I don't do California very often. And they had this rail grinding machine to grind the commuter rails, and it was on its own trailer. And I was supposed to take it out there to Los Angeles and wait for it. They would use it for 5 days grinding the rails. I would wait for it and I would haul it back. And when I got there, you could look off and you could see the San Bernardino Mountains. And I thought, man, this is great. I can see why people live here. And I asked the guy that was in charge of the project, I said, if you were stuck here for 5 days, what would you do or where would you go? He says, go down by Disneyland. He says, right now it's March. He says, you can get a room at Disneyland cheap. So I did. I went down to Anaheim by Disneyland down there and got a room at the Super 8. And gosh, they had a jacuzzi and pool and everything. The rooms were cheap. And about 3 days into it, I asked him, I called him up and I asked him, I said, when are you going to want to see me again? When are you going to want me to come and get the hook onto the trailer? He said, well, we got a problem. He says, we blew the machine up. He says, we're flying in parts and somebody to fix it. He says, you're probably going to be here another week. Yeah, that was great. I mean, I'd take a walk every morning. I was walking right outside by Disneyland, and I would go down to Malibu Beach and watch the sun go down every night. I found a good bar. There was lots of things to see in the LA area, you know. And finally, they fixed the machine, and I brought it back to Minnesota, but it was a vacation. They paid for the motel rooms. They paid so much a day while you were there. it was a paid vacation. It was one of the nicest things that ever happened to me.
What'd you do for fun when you were on the road? Did you have the golf clubs in the truck?
I did not. I didn't golf back then, and I probably should have, because I started late in life and I'm not very good at it, so I probably should have. But I did a lot of different things. I like to go to different events like NASCAR races and things like that. And, a lot of times we would, like in the winter, we would go to Southern California and we would take some time off and get our trucks polished and then go to Universal or something, but I worked pretty hard when I drove, so I didn't take a lot of vacation time, but I was young and I needed to make money, and I had goals, and that's probably why I didn't take as much time off as some people would. But I love this industry. It's been very good to me. It's been a lot of fun.
You're watching Long Haul's King of the Road, powered by Peterbilt. Welcome back. Today we're talking about seeing America as a trucker. It can be a tough job, but for some people, it's the experience of a lifetime.
My dad owned a restaurant for close to 30 years. And he sold that business to come be an owner-operator here at Long Haul Trucking. And the driving force behind that was he had always wanted to be a trucker so he could see the country.
He had this business, very successful business. He had it for 20-some years, and it's right on the interstate. He was always busy.
Looked at these trucks coming up the ramp all the time, every day. And I finally told Glenda one day, I'm going to do that. I'm going to get paid to see the country. And I told John that I would buy a truck and a trailer if he would, give me an opportunity.
And I thought, wow, you want to quit and be driver? He said, yeah, I've always wanted to see the country. I always wanted to be an over-the-road truck driver.
It's a great way to see the country. I was able to see the country. Our drivers, they enjoy it. They take a lot of pictures of their trucks in different locations. Sadly, sometimes you might see Cleveland through the window at 2 a.m. and there's Cleveland, right? But being out there and seeing the different landscapes from the West Coast to the East Coast, north to south. A guy can go from Washington to Florida, Florida to Maine, Maine to New Mexico, New Mexico to California, and then back again to Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of responsibility with the loaded truck. However, the driver's eyes still get to look out and see, this beautiful country that we have, and there's a lot to see out there.
I was really surprised at how beautiful the East is. The country, it's mostly trees. I think it's beautiful. When I first started, I went to the East Coast to Philadelphia every week.
A lot of guys like to go east, and the Northeast has got some beautiful spots, and people obviously want to stay away from New York City, because of the traffic, but you get up into Vermont and upstate New York, there's some beautiful areas there too.
I think a lot of people, especially the younger people we see getting into the industry right now, that's a lot of the allure. Even more so than the money is, hey, I want to get into this industry and travel and get paid to travel. I've had a lot of people tell me that over the years, drivers that really enjoy the driving part of the job, the seeing the country, they're like, man, I get paid to travel. Mm-hmm. And it's like, hey, that makes sense. And they have their little camper behind them, their sleeper, which, has TV, microwave, refrigerator. But seeing the country, it's super important to the drivers, and it's one of the big benefits to the job.
Did you yourself, when you were driving, did you have any special, mom and pop, restaurants or places you like to visit, some that you might even take a little detour out of the way to get to?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think a lot of guys do. There's a little truck stop over in Camp Douglas, Wisconsin, that a lot of long haul veterans and people that were here before me and people still oh yeah, you got to stop there. Yeah, with social media and stuff, you'll see that drivers have their favorite locations, and you know, they'll post when one's there, and they're like, oh yeah, I was there last week, and different things like that. So there's definitely that going on out there. There's people that in this country that really, really, really take care of truck drivers, like the people at Camp Douglas.
It's a little piece of home when you're on the road.
Yeah, and they become a familiar face. A truck driver can go 3-4 days, and the only person they see or have interaction with that's not on their phone is a person at a fuel stop.
Yep.
Or a place where they're getting a shower. And that's just quick human contact, where if they sit down at a restaurant where they've been and the server or the people who own it have seen them there 10 times before, they're gonna have a conversation. Maybe even sit down at the table with them and you know, have a conversation with them while they have their meal, and that's comforting, and it's good. You know, it's good for those relationships to be happening.
When COVID-19 emerged, it changed the way we all interact. But most truckers kept on rolling, and the simple things, like getting a good meal, got a little tougher.
The drivers actually feel pretty safe. The only thing that drivers really complained about was not being able to get a good meal, you know, and go in and sit down and have a meal, because drive-through is pretty tough when you can't drive a truck through drive-through, and a lot of places won't serve you if you're walking.
I mean, you get takeout food. There are some places that have been real good about takeout food. Other than that, boy, it's tough to find good food out there right now. You know, a lot of these restaurants have been closed we're closed for 2 months. Some of them are starting to reopen again now. It's tough to get good food.
Stay tuned. More Long Haul's King of the Road, powered by Peterbilt, coming up next.
King of the Road is brought to you by Peterbilt. Extreme Trailers, innovation moving forward. And Long Haul Trucking, running on the power of promises kept.
Welcome back to Long Haul's King of the Road, powered by Peterbilt.
I probably, by the time I was 25, seen every state. Been through all of them, over the mountains, in the cities. Some of that stuff I don't know if you'd have time just on a leisurely cruise to go see all those things that you get to see daily as a truck driver. And you know, I tell my wife now about the things I've seen in the truck, and I've been on this pass, and I've been through Manhattan, and passing those stories along to people that haven't had the opportunity to do that is pretty cool, and just see their face light up like, oh, you've seen that, and you know, and again, passing those stories on to my son, and I hope he's doing the same thing someday.
It's kind of the American dream.
It was mine. Doing it as a kid and seeing your father and your grandfather drive these huge machines that you never understand how you would ever be able to do that, and how you can shift 18 gears, and it is truly, I think, something special that some people will miss out on. Just, you know, I'm fortunate to grow up in that industry, in this industry.
What's the most nerve-wracking experience you've had on the road?
Most nerve-wracking experience, and I told my dad from the day that I got my license that I'm never going to New York City. Never going to do it, and there's no way, you can't get a truck in there, I'm scared to death, to, okay, this load pays really well, I really could use the money right now. It had its moments. It was not the best trip in the world, but we made it. Nothing happened, delivered the load, got in and out of there. And after that, continued to do that for about 2 years straight, running New York City, and found my place there, and found that I was comfortable doing it. So it went from never gonna do it, and don't even offer me that load, to, okay, what do you got going to New York City? And so it really paid off well, but it was those people that helped me get there, and that have been there, and you know, take this exit and do this, and this is what you can and can't do, the ins and outs of New York City. And so it really turned out well for me in the end.
Well, if you can tackle New York City, you can tackle just about anywhere in the States.
It's one of the toughest that I've found. As far as taking 80 foot of equipment down some side streets with cars on both sides. Not hardly enough room for your truck and trailer, and you're not always viewed as somebody that they want there because you're usually in their way and what are you doing here, but you're also bringing them products. So it became a challenge to me that, you know, okay, I can drive the truck in the Midwest, that's easy, you know, it's out in the country roads, no problem. Let's try this, and if I can do that, I can go here, and really it helped me push myself to further and further and do these things, and not only that, it paid great too.
What was your most exciting or gratifying experience on the road?
Probably going up and down the coast of California on the 101 freeway. Being in the mountains, next to the ocean, and to go to California as a kid, that was I want to go to California. I've never been there, and everybody talks about this magical place of California. Something that, again, growing up in the Midwest, you don't see those things every day, and a beautiful part of America.
Most people live a life of routine, and that's not a bad thing. There's comfort in what's familiar. Maybe you love going into the office every day, or working from home doing online meetings and phone calls. For the men and women in trucking, every day is a journey to somewhere new. The freedom of the open road, seeing America and getting paid to do it. It's not always easy. But for long-haul drivers and so many others across the country, this is the job they love. And I, for one, am so thankful that they do it. I'm Haley Shanley, and I hope you'll join me again next time on Long Haul's King of the Road, powered by Peterbilt.